Stone is a preferable weapon to a lot of people because of their availability. There have been numerous psycho killers who has used stone as a weapon of their choice in their killings. I myself have personally witnessed a watchman who was living in my grandparents' apartment was crushed to death by a stone. And most times these kind of serial killers, psycho killers, get caught and then get sentenced to prison or get sent to a mental asylum. In today's video, we are going to talk about a suspect who was responsible for 13 to 27 murders and never got caught. He is like the Indian version of Jack the Ripper, and all we know about him, and we call him as the Stoneman Killer, who was responsible for killing numerous number of homeless people. So let me take you back to 1985 Bombay. As it was called Bombay back in the day, hundreds of people had taken shelter in the streets and pavements, and the place was not completely lit. We are talking about 1985 here, and the only place that was lit using sodium vapor lamps or halogen bulbs. I'm not sure what they are called. The rest of the city, even the centers of the city, were completely dark, and that's where these people took shelter. A person was found with their skull caved in, disoriented, full of blood and flesh everywhere. 2 murders after that, the police started recognizing that there is a pattern over here, and they started taking the case seriously. And over the next 3 years, 12 murders on a regular basis, and the police, no matter what they did, couldn't identify the murderer. The murders went on from 1985 to 1988 in a similar pattern, and during this time the police arrested a lot of suspects and investigated them, but they still couldn't find the actual murderer. They were heavily criticized by the public and had tremendous amounts of pressure on them to find the serial killer. There were 12 murders in between these 3 years, and the murders completely stopped in 1988 until a dead body was found murdered in a similar way, disoriented, full of blood and flesh, in Kolkata in 1989. The Stoneman Killer's first victim in Kolkata was a street vendor, and exactly a month later a beggar was killed in a similar way, crushed by a concrete slab. There was widespread panic in Kolkata because these murders took place in one of the most busiest places in the city near the Howrah Bridge. The police started suspecting if the murders were linked to the murders of Bombay, or these were committed by multiple murderers, but they just couldn't come up with an answer. Maybe the murders were linked, maybe the murders weren't, maybe it was the same murderer, we don't know for sure. But there were some undeniable similarities in the way of killing. Firstly, this timeline. It stopped in 1988 in Bombay, starts 1989 in Kolkata. The choice of weapon, the people who were targeted, the time of murders, all of this fell into place, and they concluded that it was done by the same murderer. Unfortunately, most of the victims were rickshaw pullers, coolies and beggars, and some dead bodies were found beyond recognition. And not only that, nobody came to claim their bodies as they were all orphans. The police were under so much pressure that they conducted 2 operations. One, to protect the street dwellers and the people who use the pavements to sleep, and number 2 was to catch the psycho killer himself. They went to the extreme of going undercover as homeless people lying in the cold streets of Kolkata with their service revolvers. The case of the Stoneman Killer became so famous that it was reported in LA Times itself. The higher police officials of Kolkata refer this as once in a lifetime case for them, and to this day nobody has been found guilty or sentenced for all these murders. There have been a lot of questions regarding them, but we only know that poor homeless people were crushed to death by massive giant stones. Other than this, we know nothing about these murders, the Stoneman Killer, and even after 31 years, this case remains unsolved, thus becoming one of the most mysterious and unsolved cases in the history of India. Hey guys, I hope you found it interesting. For more mysterious topics like this, do subscribe to my channel and stay tuned.